Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward, and this is Face to Face. Our guest this week is Dene entrepreneur and community advocate Tim Carwell. Carwell, who is a member of the Beaver First Nation in northern Alberta, is the president of the CommAlert group of companies, which provides emergency communication services, including lone worker management and emergency alerts. Carwell is also the founder of Gloria's Dreams Tree. Tim, thanks so much for being with us on the show this week.
Thanks so much for having me.
I feel like it might be best to start with your mother, Jeanette Gloria Carwell, as her story and your story and much of the work you do seems so woven together. Can you tell us a bit about your mom?
Yeah, my mom was born October 31st, 1946 in Habe, which is in about 9.5, 10-hour drive from Edmonton in the north. She lived there and moved to Meander River until about 1950-51, where she was playing with her sister and her brother pretty close to a fire near her home, and ended up catching a dress on fire and was had severe burns and was airlifted to Fort Vermilion. And my mom was this beautiful Indian girl with long black hair. And that was part of the reason that she was saved, because that was at the time a look that people wanted to adopt for their own. And that's exactly what happened to my mom. She was removed from the community, ended up in Edmonton, recovering from her injuries while a legal adoption process took place. And that experience removed her for 30 years from her family. All of my family in the north either went to Indian day school or residential school, including my grandmother. I didn't see my family or meet my family for the first time until 1983. But my mom's resilience is an inspiration. My mom's ability to not pass on the hurt and harm that she received when she was stolen is something that moves me to help the community, no matter where I am, and take an approach that is more based on reciprocity, balance, than telling the story all the time. But she's always on my mind. I lost her last year on April 12th, and so the mission has become even more important.
Yeah, and condolences, Tim. We're gonna get to the mission that you have taken on. What was the impact on the family, do you think, of your mother's removal, and what was the journey to get back to her family?
She never stopped looking. She knew that she was loved by her sister Maggie and her brother Mike and family members that were around. She was able, and even though she was pretty young, she was able to instill a sense of pride in me. And at that time, when we were younger in the 80s, it was sort of, this is who you are, but maybe you don't want to tell so many people about that. And so the legacy for me personally is that I hid in plain sight. And so I have a lot of regret around that. And I'm trying to heal in different ways by turning these negative things into a positive thing. It wasn't until Bill C-31 that my mom really started to get some movement back home, which is kind of funny. She's a Bill C-31 Indian, but they took her, so it was a bit confusing. But yeah, that was always a journey for us, and she taught what she could. Thankfully, she was 5, so there was those formative years for her. she took a lot of her teachings and shared with myself and my brother and my sister.
Can you tell us, I guess, about Dreams Tree?
Yeah. So Dene's, we're dreamers, and so the name itself is rooted in reaching out to community in two ways. We invest in social enterprise. We help support the understanding of social enterprise and as an investor and build strong businesses with an idea to give back. And then the other side is the investment is the return. Those are the ones that I just love. I think about my friend George Desjardins. Sorry. He teaches star stories, and he wanted to provide that those teachings to a larger audience. And he's a knowledgeable guy, and he's taught me so much. And we spend time. We're good friends, and I was able to repay a small portion of the things that I've learned and the confidence that he had given me by facilitating the purchase of a mobile planetarium, so he can travel around and tell people the stories that we used to share, because we navigated just like the other people that came here. And it's a interesting experience when people, scratch their head and go, "Oh, I didn't even know that." And so there's this parallel, this, like I said, reciprocity and balance that George is able to create. There's an understanding, and it's safe. It's just safe to learn about the stars.
You had an event in Toronto this week. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, we have a vision to encourage people to come to the north. It's a magical place if you've never been. I'm still trying to figure out how to turn the northern lights on and off. We haven't figured that part out yet, but we know where the fish are, and we know where the animals go, and we have some pretty interesting people that have really important things to share. And we're working with a company out of Toronto, and in our approach to business is we start in a good way, which means that if somebody asks how do we begin, we come together in ceremony, and through discussions with the company's Mighty Hum here, we realized that maybe some people in the South want to learn some things from the North. I think we could help and maybe encourage people to come up. So my wife and I invited the drummers from our territory and our family to make moose stew, and my aunt's world famous bannock fried. It's awesome, and just get together and in celebration of what could become. So if you can imagine, we're going to create experiences that are safe and encourage understanding, and maybe we can start to have more difficult conversations in the future. But kind of steering clear of reconciliation and really focused on reciprocity, with a purpose to maybe create opportunities for our nations to have a more be more involved in the Canadian economy. We are not all interested in working in social services, but that seems to be the only thing we get offered, or heavy equipment. And I think that if we were allowed to see what's possible, we could do a lot of good, just like we did when people first arrived. Why are we, on the outskirts? So the vision is to create something that benefits all of us that live here now.
Tim, more to talk about with Dreams Tree and the visions that you have there. We just have to step aside for a quick break, and then we'll continue the conversation here on Face to Face. Stick around. Welcome back to Face to Face. Our guest this week is Dene entrepreneur and community advocate Tim Carwell. How do you think that you can, talking about conversation, Dreams Tree can transform reconciliation from that conversation to economic action?
Well, for me, it starts with a belief in ourselves. And when I see, especially in the North, there's this reluctance in some cases to imagine what's possible. It starts with us coming to the places, the big, large centers where the economy exists, and creating a dialogue there rather than trying to pull people to the North. So we have like different events that we do. We've done 21 in the last 3 years, and the philosophy. And I don't want to call it a mission statement or a vision statement or whatever, but it's for us, we have a vision of building centers of excellence where people can come together. But I know that the path to the center is through gifts and goodwill. So we spent a lot of time over the last 3 years in Western Canada, visiting different communities, taking a multi-nation approach to hear what is important to individual communities, and then trying to expose both sides to the opportunities to collaborate and stop talking about the tough stuff. Everybody's on a mission to, that word has the word reconciliation. I feel like it's morphed a bit into something that creates a lot of shame for the people that we're trying to connect with. So I want to share the magic and encourage an opportunity to have those tough conversations when people are ready. We need to come together as we are where we are today and not feel intimidated or angry or embarrassed or what have you. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, some people have different thoughts around reconciliation, I guess, and some would see that as getting land back or language revitalization. What role do you think the economy has to play?
Well, I think that there's lots of conversations around economic independence, and for me, it has to start at opportunity and belief in ourselves. That's why our social enterprises are geared to create companies that have value, but the money that we earn goes to support community things like cabins at Bischo Lake and stables and trails, wagon trails, and just horse trails, so that we can come together as a community and heal by ourselves. So it's sort of this balance. We have a lot to offer. We have a lot of knowledge, and like I said, the North is beautiful, and if you can come to these places and be safe and experience it, there's no doubt that we can do good with the revenue that we earn. It's a huge opportunity.
You've invested in more than 20 projects so far across 3 provinces. You've kind of touched on some, but any that you'd really like to highlight?
Well, I mean, I think the one that's the project that we worked on with a couple of schools is called the Upintutan Project, which is Cree for Lift Each Other Up. I learned a lot during that experience, working with some great leaders like Sarah Cardinal at Norquest College. It taught me that when we come from the res or from remote locations, that there's a lot that needs to be understood and supported. Our best and brightest are coming to these large centers, sometimes from places that have 150 people. The culture shock is massive. And I also know that there's some inherent racism that comes along with the gifts that are treaty rights in a lot of cases. So we tried to not defend it, but create a economic impact. So we invested in creating a call center training program that interested students that were going to be in university could take and we created basically a national program where a person can get a part-time job while they go to school. I have really great friends in the industry and competitors, and I talked to them about my mom's story and the opportunity. And I mean, everyone I talked to was like, okay, we can work with these nations, and we can get employees. And so it was a bit of a no-brainer. We started with a classroom of 30, and we had 36 people apply. But by the fourth cohort, we had over 480 people apply, and we expanded it to 45 seats. So we're going to like stack other opportunities on top of the call center training. That one was rewarding in a lot of ways, but also very educational, because we're community focused, as you know. When somebody comes from the north, we'll just talk about the north or anywhere. Usually they're staying with a family member. Sometimes it's a good place, sometimes it's not. But the one thing that's always missing, and particularly, I'll just talk about my community. There's not a lot of Dene things around in Edmonton, let's say. So our culture is important to us. It's important that we remain balanced and we feel supportive and supported. And maybe perhaps we need some space for an elder to come down. Maybe there's some wraparound supports like I don't want anyone to have to make the choice between a bus pass and food. Like what? So the other thing I learned is sometimes we go home, and it's not, everyone wants to talk about, somebody passes in the community, and that does happen. But sometimes we just want to be home because we're homesick, and there's nothing for us to go to. So our story ends if we need to go home. And what I realized is that we need to create a campus that's available, that has internet connection and a bed to stay in, and like dormitories right in the north, where you can go home if you want, but can continue your education. As we sort of talk about that a little bit, we realized that it also could be a starting point to build your confidence to go to the city and learn. And man, we're nomadic, so we can do it here, we can do it there. So we just kind of tried to listen to that. The other piece that was really important, getting back to the economic opportunity for people, we wanted to create something in Beaver First Nation. They did a fantastic job building and getting funding for a facility that will help chief and council and have all sorts of great things for the community and the territory. But the most interesting is there's a little space carved out for industry to come and talk about why it would be important for them to encourage us to take part. We are bringing them up, but what I've been saying is you get to come up and you can talk about your industry, but you have to give us some time to share a little bit about us. So you come up for a day, we listen to you, but the second day or the first day, we'll take you around and we'll show you all the things that we do on the land. That I mean, it's a gift, right? You go on the land and you get grounded. It's just a good thing. So and it's a good way to start. We don't have to always start in ceremony, but we do have to start with respect. So that one is a work in progress. We're moving towards it, but it was so rewarding. It was great. It was just good.
Nice. Tim, more to talk about here. We do just have to step aside for one last quick break, and then we'll continue the conversation here on Face to Face. Stick around. Welcome back to Face to Face. Our guest this week is Dene entrepreneur and advocate Tim Carwell. Tim, I guess, what are your hopes for Dreams Tree?
That people that maybe have a different opinion about how hard we work, the impact that we make, will see us differently. I hope that people that don't maybe know us as well will allow us some access to places that we haven't traditionally done. But the most important thing is language and culture. I want to see more drummers, and I want to see more pride in things that are traditional. I want to see young people continuing to dance and to take part in the ceremonies that make us who we are, and to take the time to listen and support as needed, rather than trying to take control of these young entrepreneurs' visions. Ask the right questions, support where we need to support, be a backbone until we don't need to be anymore. And, it doesn't always have to be about IP. I think sharing and mutual aid is something that's just in our DNA. I want people to see the power of sharing and the magic that can be created.
Tim, we haven't actually spoken about your company, CommAlert, the CommAlert group, which I can only assume is helping you out with all these other initiatives.
Yeah, a little bit.
Can you tell us about the company?
Yeah, we're it's an emergency services business. So sort of our flagship is work alone. We design the system. Anybody that's out in the field, whether that's oil and gas, or you're a plumber, or you're working alone, you need to check in. And we have I think we took about 50,000 check-in calls last month. That's the biggest part of our business. We also do crisis communications. So when there was the High River floods in 2013, our team was down as a part of the incident command team, supporting the community getting back into their homes and learning a lot. I've been involved with the CommAlert group and expanded since 2007. We are, I don't know the percentage of Aboriginally owned, but there's a lot of us Indians working with a lot of really great people. Yeah, that's our expertise is keeping people safe. We like to say we want to check you in the morning and tuck you in at night. And we have a goal of keeping 1 million people safe a month.
Good goal for sure. Award-winning company there you have, Tim.
Yeah.
Tim, we're going to have to leave it there for this week, but appreciate you coming on and sharing part of your story, your mom's story, with us.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And that is all the time we have for Face to Face this week. You can always catch up on any episodes you may have missed by checking out our website, aptnnews.ca. All these episodes are also available as podcasts. You can find those wherever you download your podcasts. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy Miigwech. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here in 7 days.